toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Here we go again. Thought we died from the start. Still waiting on our failure, but we raised the bar. Scraping at the gate where legends get crowned. Bowling our sights, we closing in now. Keep the cake, it ain't a party. Had our sweet 16, chasing the Lombardi. One step closer to dream. Yeah, it's been a while. Still the best in the game. First Brady, now made. Put respect on the name. Helmet low, breath fog. We do this in the cold. Yeah, we beat the Broncos, and you watch it unfold. They see the street, now the tone done changed. But the receipts don't lie. Got you looking insane. Now we pressing the line, bow bound, feel the shift in the air. It's our time to shine. Can't deny this run. You thought it was the end. We don't talk about losses, busy stacking the wins. Every snap, pressure pack, we built for the challenge. Mike started this year and exposed all the talent. When we make it to the big stage, you know it's on sight. Ready, set, hunt, gotta prepare for the hype. From Foxborough, grit near the field at the bowl. Now the door off the hinges, watch us capture the goal. They said the run was done, said the window was closed. Started from the bottom, watch the future unfold. At the gates of the bowl, you thought it was the end. We don't talk about losses, too busy stacking the wins. We all we got, we all we need. Shout it from the stand, same chance, same drive. Yeah, we do it for the fans. Now we pressing the line, roll bound, feel the shift in the air. It's our time to shine. You watch us in the AFC and teams today. Time to bring the fire. We got haters to shame. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. Warriors! Come out and play!
The talking is almost over. 48 hours away until Super Bowl 60, and we are here for the ultimate preview of the big match in question. It is the AFC being represented by the six-time Super Bowl champions, the New England Patriots, taking on the winners of the NFC, led by the revolutionized Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks. And without this show, we can't do without a very, very special guest. This guy's been doing the rounds all week. If you've been listening to all your social media platforms and all, obviously on your podcast platforms, we got Josh here from 12 Talk Podcast. Good evening, Josh. How are we doing this evening?
Absolutely brilliant, lads. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Doing the rounds, you make me sound like I'm hooring myself out. No, it's been brilliant. It's just it's the slow build up now, and now we've actually reached in sort of the final days. It's going to be nice to chop this up with you guys and get the opposition's viewpoint on things as well.
No, it's good to have you on. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to break down, a lot to dissect throughout this contest regarding our players, coaches, strengths, weaknesses, and obviously, of course, maybe a little bit of shithousery involved. But we'll try and keep it as
I'd expect nothing less.
We'll try and keep it as professional as we possibly can. Make sure you smash the like button, Gronk spike the subscribe button. Tell all your friends, follow us on social media platforms, and make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple as well. The link to the 12 Talk podcast is down in the description below as well. So make sure you give them a like, make sure you subscribe to them, make sure you follow them on their social media platforms as well. They're also doing a big event happening in Birmingham. I'm sure Josh will talk a little about it as we get more on into the show. And obviously, on our side of things, the UK Patriots fan group, they are doing a event at the Grandmaster in Marylebone in London. So, yeah, make sure you get over down there if you're a Pats fan, and obviously get to Birmingham if you're a Seattle fan. Without being said, we've got a couple of people in the comments. Big up to Andy 12. Ma'am, I'm pumped up. Big up to you, mate. Hope you are doing good. Greetings from San Diego as well. Seamus Doody. Great, that's a fantastic name.
Love Seamus.
Go Hawks! Obviously, you've sent a load of your Seahawks fans over, so yeah, be nice. That's all we say. Just be nice and be respectful in the comments. That's all we say. It's all going mental already. This might be a long one, Kez. Anyway, let's crack in straight into this game, shall we? Listen, we're going to first talk about Seattle, how they've got this far. I just want to ask you, what was your expectations going into the obviously the season is gone now, but this current season, because you made the postseason last season, so there was a good building block to have from that, or you missed out.
We missed out, so we won 10, but we missed out.
Oh, right, then probably you missed out due to a tiebreaker.
Mathematics, basically. Right, yeah.
So,
but it was a great building block for us.
Very good building block, especially with Mike McDonald as your head coach as well. Moving into this season, you made a change at quarterback. It was no longer the role of Geno Smith's job anymore. You sent him packing. He went to the Raiders, and well, it speaks for itself. And you went after a commodity, which I'd say he's had his career resurrected when he was in Minnesota, but the people were wondering that could he take him to the next level? And that is, of course, Sam Darnold, who us Patriots fans know very well of because we made him see ghosts every time he was in a New York Jets uniform. What was your first initial reaction when you got Sam Darnold in? Was it concern? Was it excitement? Or was it a little bit of both?
It was very much let's see what we get. So we, as the Seahawks, were obviously not opposed to a redemption story. Look at Geno. He just didn't want to be here. We offered him more money and he chose not to take it and to follow Pete Carroll, who gave him his shot as another starting QB, which understandable. Then went out and got Sam Darnold. And after Sam Darnold's performance last season, I was hopeful because he completely just capitulated in the playoffs, but then he was playing behind Vikings O-line, which was made of rice paper. Zero time in the pocket to process anything. Zero time for him to look at his reads. The running game was nigh on non-existent as well. I had hopes for him, and I'm a sucker for an underdog. I love a redemption story myself. And when you see a player go through what he did, to then everything that went through with the Jets, to seeing ghosts and then being dropped out of there to become a perennial backup, to, what was it, Carolina, to San Francisco, to then, the other way around, I can't remember, to then go
you was right. You was right.
And then get his shot at the Vikings due to 9 going down and proving exactly what he can do when he's got the weapons around him, when he's in a good offensive scheme. I looked at that, and when we signed him, I looked at a lot of his tape through the majority of the regular season. I thought, you know what, Sam can do things. You just put him in the right situation, give him some protection, and he needs an extra second more than what he got in the playoffs last year. And he's had that this year. Sometimes he's not, thanks to our right guard, but I think he's been brilliant. He's commanded the ship. He's an absolute dude. Everyone loves him on this team. When you've got essentially one of the captains of the defense going up to the podium and sticking up for him, I think that speaks verses.
I feel like there's a very apt meme that applies to both of us coming into this season, and it's that Paul Rudd meme of "Look at us, who thought we'd be here?" Not me. And I think it's very apt because I think we were roughly 75-1 heading into the season to win the Super Bowl. You guys were 60-1. You'd have got an insane price on this.
Oh God, I wish I'd taken my bet at 60-1. I got 45-1.
Yeah,
I got on that. So.
But like in the grand scheme of things, neither of us were expected to be this good, and our expectations were very much like, we think we'll win about 10 games, maybe flirt with the wild card places, and that's probably where the ceiling is for year one. So for us to be sat here right now on the eve of the Super Bowl, talking about playing each other again. It just seems very surreal. I mean, so I guess my question is, like, are you still having to pinch yourself a little bit that you've managed to get to this situation?
Yeah, a little bit. Mitch and I said on the pod when we started right at the beginning of the Mike McDonald era. So we came from a different Seahawks pod and sort of branched out on our own. And it was a perfect time to start a new pod. And we were going through this. So I'm a sports coach myself. I coach rugby. And for someone like Mike McDonald to come in and completely overhaul the franchise with the culture, the players, everything, we gave it a 3-year rebuild trajectory. So we thought by the end of year 3, so end of next season, sort of postseason, that's when we'll be looking at the Super Bowl. That has accelerated so much. I mean, you look at what he's done with the defense. The first half of last season, before the bye, he didn't have the right pieces. He wasn't able to, move the defense and show a lot of his disguised coverages and his lack of blitz, but ends up becoming more effective than a blitz. And then he started getting his guys in. And we went from something like the 25th ranked defense up to the top 5. And this season we've kicked on from that. And we're now being known for this team with an elite defense, which is what Seattle's always been about. Every time we've been successful, we've had an elite defense. I don't like harping on about them, but the LOB, iconic defense. And now we've got the dark side. Name's still quite contentious to me, but it is quite fun seeing a lot of Darth Vader costumes in the in the fans at Lumen. But I mean, he's building that culture. It's a hard-nosed, let's get the job done. It's not finished. We don't celebrate our big wins too much. We go straight back into it. And that's kind of what he's got. And that's the mentality. When you listen to a lot of the guys in the pressers this week, that's their mentality. This is another game. The job isn't finished. And that is so nice to see. But yeah, we thought it was going to be 3 years. We're there at 2 years. I can't wait to see what next year brings. Because even if this doesn't go our way, I think we've exceeded expectations for a lot of people.
You got like 73 million in cap space as well for going into this season. So that just makes it, and especially when you get this far into the playoffs or even make the Super Bowl with this much cap, it'll entice players that are free agents to say, okay, maybe we could go to Seattle. Maybe we could go there. If they're on the cusp of winning a Super Bowl, maybe we could be the pieces to take them over the top, maybe. But yeah. I want to deep dive more into, obviously, Mike McDonald. He's come in. He's done a pretty phenomenal job. But the one person I want to talk about is our fellow Brit. Now, obviously,
how do you pronounce his name? Go on. I had to correct someone last night.
I'll butcher his name. I think
Aden Durdy.
Aden Durdy.
It looks like Aiden, but it's Aden.
Aiden, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Aiden as well, because that's just how we pronounce it. But
exactly,
Aden.
Yeah, Aden. He's been exceptional. He's the reason we got Tank Lawrence. They both came into the league at the same time. Tank has so much respect for him. I said this on a pod I was on last night, one of the Scottish NFL pods, big up Gridiron Crew. And basically, Aden Durdy has been brought into the NFL and groomed to be the first British head coach. So if there is ever an expansion to London, I can guarantee, you put money on it if there's a betting pool out there, that he will become the first coach of any British expansion. I think he's been fantastic. Every single player loves him. You look at what he's done to our pass rush. He was a pass rush specialist, a D-line specialist. I'm pretty sure he played linebacker when he played for played Olympians and coached at the Warriors. And he's just been exceptional. Every single time you hear him speak, he's just so grounded. He knows exactly where he's come from, what it's taken this team to get to where it is. He's just, he's brilliant. I'd love to have a chat with him one day. And get into my connections at the Warriors and see if I can get something going.
Yeah, the transformation has been remarkable. It just goes to show that when you make good hires, I mean, funnily enough, Carl and I were just talking about the Cleveland Browns situation with, obviously, Jim Schwartz has just decided to have it on his toes because he's annoyed at them going with Todd Monken. And I always have a saying on this podcast of bad franchises make bad decisions. And it's no wonder why they'll probably struggle again next year, because they've let the guy that they probably should have hired walk out the door. But then on the flip side of it, you guys have not only hired an exceptional head coach who has completely transformed you like in a couple of years and has made you arguably a top 3 defense, in the NFL. Like you said, bringing in Dirty as well, who was very, very highly sought after and very well regarded in Dallas. I think, once again, this shows like the reason why Seattle have been competitive more times than not in the last few years, because they're a franchise that do make good decisions. And here you are back in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, and you look at our offensive coordinator. We've had him for 1 year. Kubiak's been with, I think, 4 teams in 5 years. I'll have to double check that stat. You can tell I'm not the stat guy. That's Mitch on our pod. But yeah, he's come in. He's utilized all our weapons really well. It's taken a little bit of time to get the run game going, but now it's been confirmed he's going to be the Raiders head coach next season. So hopefully he can turn that dumpster fire around. And at least, he'll have an option as well as Geno Smith, because they've got their first overall pick. So Mendoza, you are a Raider.
Yeah, I do feel for him a little bit, because that is that's kind of where careers go to die, unfortunately. But he deserves a lot better than that.
No, I think that's the Jets, mate. You're getting it continued.
Yeah, well, we've got to say on our pod, get drafted by a dumpster fire, play like hot garbage, and that is unfortunately if you are an exceptional talent at the college level and you get so high up in the draft, the reason you're getting drafted so high is because that team was absolute dog the season before. So, sometimes they can turn it round. Other times you need to have, dare I say, a Mr. Irrelevant come and do a job in a system. But yeah, we shall see. I mean, you mentioned the Browns before. They are just I can use the word again, perennial. I'm not sure if I can swear on this pod, but
fucking go for it.
Brilliant. They are the perennial shithouse team. And I say that because my dad is a Browns fan. I love an underdog. My dad loves an underdog. And I went to a Browns fan meet when they played this year in London, because my dad's part of the Dog Pound or whatever it's called. And they were all lovely people, big smiles, dead behind the eyes. So it was like, I was chatting to a lot of them, and they were like, I'm a Browns fan because like they were from Cleveland. They were like, my whole family are Browns fans. I was born into this. So, and I was thinking, like, so now you've got to suffer through it, unfortunately. It's just another franchise that just doesn't have a clue where they're going or what they're doing. And it's such a shame, because they're an iconic historic franchise like the Jets and the Raiders, who've just gone wayward. Less about them anyway. Let's talk about our teams.
Yeah. But
So
go on, Carl.
So one thing that we talked about, obviously Kieran laid up there, was franchises making bad decisions. If there's one thing Seattle didn't do, is make a bad decision when it comes to the trade deadline. Acquiring Rashid Shaheed. This guy, I actually think could go fit into any deep threat role in the NFL, and he'll just absolutely blow up. But the way that you have utilized him has been really good. And not even that, it's mostly been utilizing him properly in special teams, and obviously kickoff returning. How many touchdowns he's had as a kickoff returner now? He's had 3. And that was like the trade deadline. That was like November. That is incredible what you're getting out of him. And also, we have seen him go deep as well during when he's playing on the offensive side of the ball. You look at your weapons, okay? So you got Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's my personal opinion, he is the best receiver in football currently right now. Cooper Kupp, although people, when the Rams ousted him, it was like he's getting a bit too long in the tooth now. Injuries, we'll send him on his way. And he seems to be I'll use it this, but it's not. I'll use it. It's a bit of a putting him up on a higher pedestal here. He's like the Devontae Adams from the Rams side of things. He's that wide receiver 2, which you could solely dependently rely on. Then you got your deep threat in Rashid Shaheed, and then you got the young whippersnapper by the name of Torrey Holton. So not to mention, you got AJ Barner at tight end as well. You've got a good accumulated amount of weapons there. With Jackson Smith-Njigba, he seems to be uncoverable. How would you portray Smith-Njigba to play in this game? Would it be a case of, I'll line up on your best corner and you'll just beat you all day long? Or is Mike McDonald going to maybe utilize him in a way, because the one game I do call we did struggle with was against the Saints. It was with Chris Olave. Chris Olave lined up everywhere across the field except bang on with Gonzo. So is that something that Mike McDonald might just utilize? Say, yeah, don't line up on Gonzo. We'll line you up everywhere else. Just don't go at Gonzo.
I think there's potential that he's going to be lined up everywhere. Kubiak's been using him at the backfield. I think it was against the Rams. There was a lovely scissor play to the corner where you had Shaheed, who was lined up. Hi, Michael. So Shaheed was lined up wide left, and he sort of came onto the inside, and then that just freed up JSN, who was actually playing in the backfield then, and came out to the left, and he was completely free. And Brianne there, that's a great shout about John Benton. This has just been taken over by Seahawks fans in the comments. Sorry, guys. I think this is JSN can be used anywhere and everywhere. I mean, he's the offensive player of the year for a reason, and we haven't had anyone of that stature since like Sean Alexander. And everyone thought that our pass game was going to be defunct as soon as DK Metcalf went. And then Bryce, hi Bryce. I think that has been absolute bullshit. The fact that now we have a wide receiving unit that we can move around. So you had JSN that everyone thought was a slot wide receiver. He's not just a slot wide receiver. You look at what he did when he was in college. You look at what he did in the Rose Bowl. He didn't just play in the slot there. You've got Cooper Kupp, who can line up outside, can also play in the slot, who has been fantastic. He has been able to give so much knowledge and information to JSN that it's helped him tremendously. You've got, like you said, Shaheed, who is just that electric deep threat that we've not used properly. The first time we used him properly, in my opinion, and in a deep route, was against the Rams. And that was amazing to see. Hopefully we see him again. But then you've got other trusty wide receivers. Unfortunately, Torrey Horton's injured, but you've got Jake Bobo, who came to play with his 4th catch of the year and managed to get himself a touchdown. You've got, the tight ends, AJ Barner, Elijah Arroyo's coming back from injury, and he's essentially a big X receiver. He has got burners on him. Sawbert has shown that he has actually got hands on him as well. And then in the backfield, you've got Ken Walker, who is there, who can take all that pressure off Sam Darnold by getting him going. You've got George Halani, who offers a very different threat to Charbonnet. And it all just opens up the game for JSN. JSN is superb at the line of scrimmage. His initial steps allow him to get free. And I think Tom Brady made a really, really astute point about when you look at his pad level, his shoulder level, it doesn't change regardless of what direction he's going. So it doesn't give any tells to a cornerback or a safety who's trying to cover him. But that, between the fluidity in his hips as well, his foot movement, he reminds me a lot of Doug Baldwin, who was fantastic at the line of scrimmage, just being able to separate in a nanosecond with some footwork. And that's what JSN's got going for him. I don't know if I'm expecting like a 100-yard game from JSN in the Super Bowl, but I would probably expect maybe a touchdown from him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be no doubt a really important matchup in the game. And like you guys, we also have a really strong secondary, more so with our corner trio, with Gonzalez, with Davis, with Marcus Jones. Our safeties have been all right, been pretty solid, but not world beaters. But yeah, I think that matchup with Gonzalez is really important. I think there's been a little bit of blurred lines in terms of, I've seen a few people saying, oh, well, JSN had over 120 yards against the Patriots last season in the game in Foxborough. Yes, he did. But none of those routes were, and then those receptions or yards were matched up one-on-one with Christian Gonzalez, because Christian Gonzalez was on DK Metcalf. So they've never gone, one-on-one, which I think is going to be a really spicy battle. I would expect both of them to have good moments. I think they're just such elite players in their respective positions that I think Gonzalez is going to get beat a couple of times, but equally there'll be a few times where he'll shut down JSN. Like, I think that's just because they're so good, they're bound to have their own moments. But yeah, I think how we choose to defend JSN is going to be really important because, like Carl alluded to, when we played the Saints, they did everything to get Chris Olave away from Gonzalez. So I do wonder whether it will be a case of that might be what we see from you guys to try and create space for JSN, or whether he sees a double team and Gonzalez goes on someone else. I really don't know, but I think that could be a really crucial matchup when you're on offense, because if we allow JSN to do what he's done in the last few weeks, that could be a real problem for us.
Bryce asked a really good question here. And for those of you who don't know, Bryce hosts the Hawkseye podcast. He's a quarterback coach and an offensive coordinator up in Canada. He's fantastically insightful. Been on our pod a lot. He wants to know, does Gonzalez travel with JSN? He doesn't do that much. I from a Seahawks point of view, if Gonzalez does that, brilliant. Because as I've just said, there is a wealth of weapons there. If you're going to take Gonzalez out the game by essentially just having him track JSN around the field, brilliant. Let our other wide receivers and tight ends do the job.
We don't know how that's going to go. I mean, Gonzalez isn't normally the type to where they just go, right, you're on one person for the entire game and that's it. We used to do that back in the day when we had Bill Belichick as head coach. The tactic was generally double team the wide receiver 1 and then put Stephon Gilmore on the wide receiver 2 1-on-1. I don't know whether that's the same thing we'll see this weekend, but I'm really intrigued with that. I think it's a good point. It doesn't tend to do it much, but we might have to in this regard, because as you've got the offensive player of the year, right? Like, you've got to be conscious of that. And if we allow JSN too much respect, then he could easily torch us if we're not careful.
Yeah. One of the key matchups I'm looking forward to is the battle of the D lines. Most specifically the rushing defenses. Okay. So with Seattle, you are ranked number 1 in rushing. No, you're ranked number 3 in rush defense, 91.9 yards per game. We're ranked 5th, 101.7. Kenneth Walker's done really, really well, and he's had a very good season for Seattle. I will say this: I'm very nervous whenever I see in the regular season when it comes to NFL fantasy, because Kenneth Walker, I always feel like he's going to either go really good or he's going to end up crashing down in week 2, week 3, and get injured. Knock on wood, that hasn't happened. But with the loss to Zach Charbonnet, has that put more pressure on Kenneth to actually now perform better? Because here's where I will flip this to our line, okay? And there's one key player that I will bring out to you, okay? And that's Milton Williams. So in the 6 games where he was out injured, we were averaging 4.94 yards per carry, which was worst in the NFL, and 32.5 stuff run rate. That was worst by a full 10% in the NFL. When Milton Williams is on the field, we average just over 3 yards per carry, which is the best of the past 5 years we've had, and 49% stuff rate, 3rd best in the NFL this season. So basically, what I'm seeing from both these D lines, neither offense looks like they're going to be able to run the ball.
See, if you're going to rely on your interior pressure to stuff the run game, I think that's where you'll come unstuck, because we play a wide zone offense. It's very rare, and this is something I've said since last season. The 1-2 punch that we've got with K9 and with Charbonnet works very well. K9 is not very good running up the gut. So if you get him out wide, you give him some space, you give him like some really good blocks. And the one thing that our wide receivers are good at with Cup and Bobo, their run blocking is fantastic. And then you add in Sorbert and Barner, so they allow him to get out wide and make those runs. If we're going to try go up the gut, that's where I'd have an issue, because we don't have a true bruiser to just make us those hard yards up there, especially against someone like Milton Williams as well. But I generally don't. I think we'll try it just to sort of see how Ken gets on there. But he's currently playing for a contract. I'd expect him to have there we go. outside zone run game is the kryptonite for interior run stopping. Thank you, Bryce. I expect K9 to have a big game. This is the game where he's going to prove that he is indispensable to the Seahawks. This is the game where he's going to run harder than he's ever run in his career. And I've been a critic of K9 because he doesn't take the easy option. He doesn't take the blocks and the run lanes that are given to him. He'll always try and ad-lib. He tries to do the Le'Veon Bell thing, but without taking that extra half second. So Le'Veon Bell was one of the best patience running backs that I've seen of the last sort of 10 years. And K9 tries to do that, but he doesn't give himself that extra half second to actually decide and let something develop. Instead, he'll go, I'm going to go that way. And then when that closes down, he'll run backwards, try and run back across to make himself extra yards and gets tackled in the backfield. We've not seen that much recently, which I've eaten some humble pie on our pod because he has been superb. But that'd be the only issue I'd have. If you can get edge pressure and try and close him in quick, then K9 could come unstuck. But I sorry to say this, I don't see that happening, especially against our tackles at the moment. The best pressure you'll get is probably against our right guard in Anthony Bradford.
Yeah, that is one place we'll have to attack. The thing is, though, with what we've seen with our interior pass rush is, stopping the run for the middle is fine. I think we haven't come unstuck. I'm not saying like we've let one go for like 50, 60 yards. That's not what we mean. We might have let one go for like maybe 7, 8, 9 yards, maybe, and then maybe Luke get a first down. But it hasn't really. One thing Mike Vrabel's done very well is when it comes to his coaching, he will always assign. He will see Roberts. He will see Robert Spillane. He will see Christian Ellis. They are always looking in the backfield. They're actually sitting off the edge more than what they are playing more inside because they know they can rely on their defensive line, but they know our edges can't. Well, pardon the pun here, cannot set the edge. Chason has been our best pass rush pretty much all season, even though Harold Landry has had the most sacks from all of us all season. But Jason has been the one that's been, doing all the trying to set the edge and being disruptive and so on. The thing is with Milton Williams is doesn't matter what offensive line it puts in front of him, it takes 2 men to keep hold of him. But then that just leaves the other D tackle, Christian Barmore, to have a free run at whichever quarterback he so fit chooses. Which is going to be, that's going to be the tail of the tape on that one. Running game
should be good to see him against Gray Zabel then. 1-on-1.
It'll be a good battle. That'll be a very, very good battle. Look forward to that one.
I think there's obviously been a lot of talk about the Seahawks defense, right? And you have to give it its respect because it has been a top unit all year, and you've got so much depth to it. It's not just in one area of the field. It's all over that entire defense. But one thing I think that's been sort of nagging away at Patriots fans is I think people are discounting just how good we've been on the defensive side of the ball throughout, not just throughout the regular season, but throughout the playoffs as well. You said about, generating the pressure. Denver had the number 1 ranked offensive line in the league, and we still sacked Stidham 3 times and forced a fumble. We still managed to, force an interception. We got a lot of pressure, and it's not. We don't have an elite pass rush. We're under no illusions. We don't. But I still think there's enough there for us to be able to generate enough pressure. I still think our interior part of our line is a huge strength, and we've given up that pittance against the run. When we've had Robert Spillane, Milton Williams, Kairos Tonga all fit, teams have just really struggled to run on us. So with how good you guys are on the defensive side of the ball, and how good we've been on the defensive side of the ball, I actually don't think I think both teams will look to establish the run. I'm just not convinced we're going to see that much running from either team, to be honest. I think they'll try it. I'm not sure which team will have success, if any. I wonder whether it's going to come back to a thing where, Kenneth Walker might get 50, 60 yards, which I think against our run defense would be a good day. I wouldn't be surprised if Drake May's our leading rusher on the day. On those
his rotator cuff injury as well.
Travion Henderson has had a reasonably good rookie season. He's had some big time moments, but has barely played in the playoffs because they've just favoured Ramondre Stevenson feeding the hot hand a little bit more. But whether we can try and utilise him, you said about those outside zone concepts. We're going to need to get that going from our perspective. But I do wonder whether it's going to be a case of they're going to put the ball in Sam Darnold and Drake May's hands and make them win the game, because I just think these defensive lines and these run-stopping units are really good, and they're just going to end up having a big say in the outcome of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very honest. When it comes to looking at your team in depth, when it comes to that, I've done a peripheral view, just sort of skim the top. Defensively, no doubt you guys have been good. I still, and I try and be impartial with this as much as possible, even though we're a Seahawks pod, I still do believe that the Seahawks have got, with rotation, with scheme, personnel, the best defense in the league. Whether it comes from pass rush, we're one of the lowest blitzing teams in the league, and we still have equal pressure to some of these that blitz lot, and that's with a 4-man front. You look at the rotation on edge, you look at the defensive, like the interior defensive linemen there, they're two of the best in the league by far. And you just keep going further and further back. I think the run game, where you said about K9 maybe getting about 50 yards, the thing with K9, that could come off one run. And that is the I don't want to say issue. That's the I really struggle with it, because he can have a game where he can get over 100 yards rushing, but that can be off 3 effective rushes. All the rest could have gone backwards, but sometimes that's all you need. We run, we're one of the highest running teams in the NFL, and that's paid dividends in our pass game. But also with having someone like K9, who, if you keep banging on that door, he'll find a gap and he will go for 20, 30 yards. But I'm a big fan of Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's just a workhorse. He is that bell cow back you want. And Henderson, I took him in fantasy. I expected big things. You had some big things from him, but it's really in sort of spits and spats. There's nothing consistent yet, but he's only a rookie. I think it'll be a good game to watch for running football, to see how they attack it. But I'm same as you, Kieran. I don't expect it to be massive running yards. I expect it to be a lot of attempts.
We've not touched on in terms of the running backs yet is what they can do out of the backfield, because we've seen Kenneth Walker and Ramondre Stevenson catch a fair few passes in the postseason. I think both of their lines at the moment, if you look on the betting lines, are about 2.5 receptions each. I think I'd be smashing both of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I think if they're struggling to get the running game going on the ground, I think you could see a lot of screens. You could see a little, quite a few checkdowns to try and get them going out of the backfield through the air. That's a factor, because they're both very accomplished pass catching running backs, as is Travion Henderson. And I wonder whether if the running game is struggling a little bit to try and break down with the with the D line, then I wonder whether they'll try and utilize them in a different way and try and get them going through the air.
Well, I mean, we saw it against the Rams where we lost Charbonnet, who is that hammer. So I call him the hammer and the sickle. Like, you've got the hammer in Charbonnet and the sickle, which is just K9. If you allow him to scythe through anything, he will. But we've got George Halani as well, who's come back from injury. He's now our RB2. And you saw against the Rams, he wasn't used much to run out of the backfield. He was that passing option out of the backfield. He's got very reliable hands. Anyone on your pod who doesn't know George Halani, he played at Boise State. And Ashton Genty was his understudy until Halani came out, and he was, just undrafted free agent. But he was that good at Boise State that he kept someone like Ashton Genty on the bench. And that says a lot for me. I've been a big fan of Halani, not only the fact that he's, a Kiwi who's playing in the NFL, but the fact that he offers something different. K9 can catch the ball, but we saw Halani as a fantastic sort of passing option. So that if 2.5 is the betting line for that, I might have to get on that, because I can foresee that being a big part of our game.
Yeah. One of the key parts, so I have noticed, if there is one Achilles heel that you do kind of have, it is when you struggle with mobile quarterbacks. So this is what I mean. Your second, Seattle, they give up the second most QB scramble yards allowed, 5.3 yards per carry to quarterbacks, 5 broken play touchdowns, which is tied most in the NFL. And in the postseason, 8.1 yards per carry on scrambles. Drake May plus broken plays equals a real problem. How are you going to try and obviously getting pressure on our offensive line? Obviously, the left side with Will Campbell and Jared Wilson side is going to be the area you're going to target because they're rookies at the end of the day. But how are you going to try and contain? So I would say contain Drake May to stop him scrambling is one good thing, but you know he can dice up any secondary when he feels also choosy. So it's a bit of a two-edged sword here. How are you going to try and disguise to try and keep him in the pocket and also stop him from scrambling at the same time?
I think it's going to be very much a matter of we'll stick with our 4-man front. We'll see how well they go. If we see Drake May start to scramble more, you will see our own Drake in Drake Thomas, the middle linebacker who's come out of nowhere. We got him from the Vegas Raiders practice squad. He's been in our system for a couple of years now, and this season he's really come in. And I think you'll see him crashing through the gaps that are created by our D-line. You'll also see Nick Emenwari in the box a lot, because we know that running. You'll see, because typically it's a 4-3 essentially defense with Emenwari as an extra safety / linebacker, which still leaves us to have Kobe Bryant and Julian Love as our safety position. So you'll have Emenwari who will be able to play that will linebacker / safety, strong safety position, and he'll be able to crash, and he'll be doing what he's done all season, looking to get those runs off the edge and really stuff the run. And you'll have Drake Thomas, who is a heat-seeking missile when it comes to stuff like that as well. I think that'll be, in my mind, that's how I'd envision it. Keep the 4-man rush going because it's been so successful all year. And then from there, use Thomas or Emenwari trying to pick up the scraps. And Emenwari is all over the field. He starts on the right, and he can quite easily go over to the left, and he'll vaporize someone in the run.
Yeah, I don't know how Emenwari was a second-round pick. I had a first-round grade on him.
He doesn't either. Every interview you listen to, he was like he was ready to be a first-round pick. He did a media day this week, it might have been yesterday or today, where they was talking about it, and he was listing all the teams that he thought were going to get him. He thought he was going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. It was like, I fit into that scheme well. I had really good conversations with them, then they passed on him. And then as soon as it got to the second round, the conversation with Mike McDonald and John Schneider was, whatever extra draft capital we got from those trades, put it together and go and get Emenwari. He's my Kyle Hamilton, and he has been, barring the injury early in the season, he's been fantastic. There's been a bit of an uproar, the fact that he's not been Defensive Rookie of the Year. But you've got to give the Browns some award, haven't you? And I think Schlesinger's been all right. He was on our list, our sort of like pre-draft list of players that we wouldn't mind having. I think he's actually done really well at the Browns. But Emenwari, I think, is just a different beast altogether.
Just want to ask you. Obviously, we spoke about your offensive depth and the weapons that you've got, and the matchup against us. But I want to kind of flip that over to our side now. So we don't have what you would call, an elite option, a wide receiver, a bona fide wide receiver one, like a JSN, right? Mm-hmm. But what we do have is a very diverse range of receivers. So obviously Stephon Diggs is kind of the safety blanket. He's at 1,000-yard season, first Pats receiver to do it for 6 years, primarily lines up in the slot. We've got Kayshon Boutte, who's the most underrated player. I don't think around the league gives him enough respect how good that guy is, because I think they look at his stats and the fact he maybe gets 3 or 4 targets a game, but when he gets them, he does something with them. Obviously, Matt Collins is an absolute giant over the middle of the field. Kyle Williams is a field stretcher. We've got Hunter Henry, who's probably been one of the most underrated, tight ends in the NFL for the last few years. So whilst we don't have a number one guy, we do have a lot of diverse options. So how do you kind of see your defensive scheme lining up with our weapons?
I think you're going to be looking at Tariq Woolen covering the booty, which he's got a history of doing. You're going to have someone like you'll have Witherspoon, who, if this is how I'd foresee it, Witherspoon will be on Stephon Diggs trying to get under his skin. When it comes to the biggest threat for you, Matt Collins, I he's an absolute weirdo. I love him. And anyone that turns up and says that I now only wear clothes made exclusively out of rodent hide caught on my estate, go on, Mylon, go on, my son. Owen tips up barefoot as well. Why not? Yeah, he's one that I think that'll just be left to the linebackers to deal with, or sort of one of our safeties. The biggest thing, and it's something that I've got a bit of PTSD about as a Seahawks fan, tight ends. Hunter Henry, when we played you guys, he ruined us. We've been a lot better against tight ends this year, but it always is something that niggles in the back of my mind. Could be an issue, and Hunter Henry's a weapon. I contest anyone that said he wasn't. You know, he can do things that he can have a quiet game, and all of a sudden he'll have a 30-yard TD. You know, was it against not the Broncos?
The Chargers, first play.
The Chargers, yeah.
Chargers, yeah.
That was a fantastic touchdown there. And he's the one that I'd look at. But then this is where the tactics of defense, I look at it and go, Emanwari will be there to look at what Drake May's doing. But then he also is there to cover those tight ends in the middle. So that's where he's going to have to be very much in the mindset of my primary job is tight ends, but then I need to look at May as well. And luckily he can turn on a dime, so he's actually been all right at that. But yeah, covering the wealth of wide receiver 2 talent you've got, I think is something that we will be able to accommodate. Like I said, it's the tight end, the usage of that, and the sort of slot, which would have me second guessing what we're going to do. But again, I'm confident in what Mike McDonald draws up defensively.
So Hunter Henry this postseason, 16 catches, 81 yards, just under 9 air yards per target. That's 1.4 higher than what Seattle typically allow to tight ends. The tight ends that you've played against in the postseason, you know, Kobe Parkinson, when his hands are not shaking, went for 3 catches and 62 yards, which is 20.7 yards per catch, which is ridiculously high. And then Jake Tunges, who is the backup tight end to the 49ers.
Don't talk to me about Tunges. He was the one that won the game for them in the first game of the season. It was literally like that. Tariq Woolen just sort of gave up on the coverage thinking he got it, and Tunges just took the ball out of his hands. Well, it's always been a thing. Tight ends again. The last 6-7 years, tight ends have destroyed us. George Kittle has had a field day against us so many times. I mean, you look at the Rams now; they got Parkinson from us, and Parkinson was used primarily as, you know, a run blocking tight end. But he's 6'9". You know, he was a big pass catcher when he was at Stanford, and he's a big old unit, but we don't seem to cover him. I hope that we have a game plan for Hunter Henry, because that'd be my one apprehension watching this.
Yeah, so I'll just follow up that question then, Josh, and I'll go with, because Carl alluded to it, you know, in the green room. So aside from everyone wanting to schedule bash us, because, you know, that seems to be the narrative and what all the sheep are following, you know, and look, we understand the regular season we did have the easiest strength of schedule, like we get that. Obviously we have then knocked off 3 of the top 5 defenses in the playoffs. Like, whether you want to schedule bash us or not, and whether you want to make excuses for Herbert having no O-line and Stroud, you know, having football diarrhea and the snow in Denver, like all the excuses that are being made, we still have beaten 3 of the top 5 defenses in succession, which has never been done before in the postseason. So in your honest opinion, what do you make of us as a team and as an opponent? You know, are you in the camp of you're fully willing to respect that we are a good team and are here for a reason, or are you going to join the schedule bashers?
I'm not going to bash the schedule. I'm going to bash the team in general. No, I think, you know, having someone like Vrabel, he's a very experienced coach. He knows what he's doing. Drake May, you know, no bones about it. He's been a fantastic QB in his second year. You know, he's MVP runner-up. I'm surprised more than anything how you've got here. And like you said, with your lack of a wide receiver one, you've got this mishmash of wide receiver 2s and 3s that have, been able to do the job for you. Obviously, no one's jumped off the page. I think, did Diggs have a 1,000-yard season?
Yeah.
So I'd put him as your wide receiver one. He is, in inverted commas, your superstar wide receiver, but I think he's on a bit of a downward slope when it comes to athleticism and whatnot. I don't want to go along with the herd and say you had a really easy, schedule, because in the NFL, everyone is a professional football player. Every team is full of professional football players who have made it into the NFL. You have had some favorable matchups, but you've managed to do it. You look at, so your losses, we had the loss to
Raiders, Steelers, and then week 15 against the Bills.
7 points, 7 points, and 4 points.
So we haven't been blown out in any game. So, but the narrative I'm seeing a lot is a lot of people. I'm just saying the very shade at the Seahawks are, but some Seahawks fans turn around and say, "Oh, we're going to beat you by 10, 20, 30 points." I'm thinking to myself,
you're going to hate my prediction then at the end of this show. No, I mean, respect to anyone who gets to the Super Bowl. I mean, you guys have got there. You've beaten, like I said, some good defenses. You deserve to be there, obviously. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how it's happened. Apart from,
oh, trust me, we are as well. We're very surprised.
Someone like Josh Allen just shitting the bed as always. But again, he is a law unto himself in the fact that he has, in my opinion, hardly anyone around him. It baffles me how a team with a quarterback that mercurial doesn't give him a true number one wide receiver. He had Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is now with you. Now he's got Keon Coleman, who they don't actually like, by all accounts. Just baffling. But I think that this goes, and this is where my coaching bias comes in. A good coach can turn a mediocre team into a good team. I think that's what Vrabel's got with you guys. That's what he's done. He's looked at your team, looked at your deficiencies, looked at what you've done well, and he's really accentuated what you've done well. And that's the sign of a really good coach. And whether you've got the firepower on either side of the ball to win the Super Bowl, it's something that you guys need to be extremely proud of based on what you did last season to where you are now. I'm not going to take that away from you guys. I'm not going to say you had an easy strength of schedule. We're in the NFC West, and universally, people will say it's probably the hardest division in football. When all teams are fit and firing, you've got the Rams, who could quite easily be in this Super Bowl. The 49ers, who, when they're all fit, are a challenge for absolutely anyone. They've been to a Super Bowl recently. We don't really talk about the Cardinals. They're the ginger-headed stepchild of the division. But
we have one of those. They're called the New York Jets.
That's the same narrative I've used on a generical NFL podcast. I go on for. Oh, you stole my thunder.
sorry, mate. Sorry. But they are they are in the Harry Potter cupboard of the NFC West. It's like out of sight, out of mind. You can take your tortilla-looking rivalry jerseys and, do absolutely nothing with them with your ex-head coach who gave the least inspiring opening day speech to his players I've ever heard.
Whenever the Cardinals make the postseason, we're not happy. We're just surprised. Is basically
whenever the Cardinals make the postseason, I am waiting to see a pig fly past my office window, or there'll be more signs of the apocalypse. If it starts raining frogs or something like that, then I'll be like, right, it's the end is nigh. It's not going to happen for a long time, in my opinion, because, like I said, you've got those other three teams. But yeah, I'm not going to bash you guys for having an easy run of games. I think you have played some all right teams. The Panthers have put it over a few teams. Pittsburgh, I still think, have been an efficient team, even though I despise Aaron Rodgers. You have played the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, but you did lose to the Raiders, and the Jets. Barring those, you've played some all right teams. And you've still got to play good football to win it. And it's a matter of, and this is what I will say just to end this, because I hate the easy schedule argument. Regardless of who you play or what your strength of schedule is, you play what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And if you play what's in front of you and you win those games, you get to these, the postseason where you get to put it all together. And then it's that knockout football, rugby, whatever, American football mentality of we just have to put the best that we have during these knockout phases and hopefully we get to the big dance. And you guys have done it. So fair play to you. And I don't want to be any nicer to you guys than I can, because all of my friends that are Patriots fans, if they see this, they'll be like, so Josh, all that shit you chat to us, you were really nice about our team on that podcast. To retract all this.
No, this is easy.
I think the way that I see it, I've said it about on this podcast as well, just before we move on, is like you make a good point. Like we can only play what's in front of us, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there has been a lot of teams that are, used to seeing the same logos in the same position every year, right? Everyone's just for some reason expects Kansas City and Baltimore and Cincinnati and Buffalo, because they've been there for the last few years, they somehow have a divine right to be at this stage, every single year. Well, but the reality of the situation is, like, Joe Burrow was injured most of the season and the Bengals didn't have a defense. Lamar Jackson was injured and then played shit when he came back. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen doesn't really have a lot of support around him, and the Bills have got a bit of work to do. And the Chiefs were shit even with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. So, like, even if we had gone through them 4 teams this season, like, they're not as good as the teams that were in the postseason, which is a reality, because they were all bad this year. Like, okay, Buffalo were the best of the bunch. They made the postseason. They won a playoff game. They were close, right? We'll give them the most credit, but you got to stop looking at the logos and the teams and the quarterbacks who play for, because it's not just down to one player. It's not just, just because they've been good in previous years, it doesn't mean they're going to be good this year. And it just so happened that they were all bad this year. And some teams, as a result of that, had to be the good teams rather than them. And we fell into that category. It's the same with Denver. I don't think many people thought Denver would have been the 1 seed, but someone had to be the 1 seed, right? So, like, I don't know what people expect us to do. Like, that's kind of the point. Yeah.
It's the beauty of the NFL. And this is what all of my friends who don't follow it, this is what I try and tell them. So that if they're all like soccer fans, in soccer, if you can buy a team, I'm a Blackburn Rovers supporter. We were one of the first teams to buy a premiership. I'm under no illusion of that. And now that's just the norm. In the NFL, you cannot buy yourself, the Super Bowl, because you could be fantastic one year due to accruing talent through the draft, free agency, and trades. And then you reach your cap limit. But then the next year, whoever was bad the year before, it can take them one draft to draft high in the first, second, third round to get 3 players that can completely change their team. And then you see them go from the bin juice of the league, absolute basement dwellers, to starting to really steadily improve. And I think that's kind of what you've seen with your team, changing, ethos throughout the actual organization, changing coaching, putting some different players in there. And you guys have, you've done a Leicester City, essentially. No one had you pegged for a Super Bowl.
No.
But you've played what's in front of you. You've used what you've got talent-wise really well. And now you're in the big dance.
And you all know as well as with you being a coach as well in a different sport as well. I've worked in professional sports as well. Winning is a habit, and momentum is an incredible thing. So yeah, I think that is a big part of it. And ultimately, 2 teams had to be here at this stage of the season. 30 other teams have failed. Yep. By Sunday, 31 teams would have failed, and there will be 1 winner. And if it happens to be us, I don't know how you can discredit that. But I'm also in the boat of, because we've blown away all expectations this year, and we never expected to be anywhere remotely close to this. If we don't win Sunday, I'm quite content with it, because I think that we can be proud of how far we've come in a year. Like it's
the
not
same
the
thing.
be-all and end-all,
We had Rob Staten on our pod last week, And Rob works for the BBC. He does Seahawks draft blog. He does a lot of the US media as well for sort of as a UK take. Rob's fantastic. He has been negative at the right time and positive at the right time. And he was saying to us, it's like the fact that it's us in the Super Bowl again, it's like karmic realignment, like the world is setting itself right, gives us that opportunity to erase the memory of what should have been a run by Marshawn Lynch. And it's a matter of, if we don't win, it will be gutted, but no one saw us get into the Super Bowl this season. Like we said, we thought it was going to be a season away. So I'm extremely proud to be a Seahawks fan. I'm extremely proud to at least be in the Super Bowl, because when I tell all my friends at work who follow the NFL on the periphery, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing for Super Bowl week?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm actually hosting a big UK Seahawkers party in Birmingham." And they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, because the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl." And they'll look at me with like a raised eyebrow, like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, no one expected it, but we're here. You're here. I think it's going to be a fantastic game regardless." So,
yeah,
should be a good game. Just to clap back on the easy schedule narrative. I know I've been beefing about it for like weeks and weeks and weeks on end. Okay. And here's what I would say to this. Okay. People said we only got there because of the easy schedule. If that is the case, then if all you had to do was constantly suck, get a top 5 pick in the draft and have an easy strength of schedule, then how come the New York Jets or the Cleveland Browns haven't got 30 Super Bowl banners hanging up in their stadium?
Because of dumpster fires.
As Kieran says, dysfunctional franchises do dysfunctional things, and that is always the case. It's not just that. You need 3 things to work with yourself. You need a fantastic owner, which we have. You need to get a great coach, which we knew Mike Vrabel in his time as Tennessee. He was a great coach, but there's always a saying: don't become a head coach in the NFL until after you get fired from your first job. He's now learned from his mistakes in Tennessee, and you could see that on product on the field. And people said, "Oh yeah, you lucked into a quarterback in Drake May." Well, I wouldn't say we lucked in it. We sucked.
Yeah, you sucked him for it. Yeah, like
13 in back-to-back season. We got to. So if you don't see on there, that's our Frankfurt Tallywell from 2023. We actually went to that game, and it was a fucking appalling. We saw that offense with our own eyes. It was. I wish we'd just stuck bleach in it. It was that bad. It was just that bad, right? So, and to say we lucked into it, people say, "Oh, yeah, we'd be gone for the next 10, 20, 30 odd years before we come back to any sort of relevancy, that and the other." And it's like, if you've got competent ownership, they won't just stand pat and go, "Yeah, this will do. This will be enough. This will do." This is what Woody Johnson would do. This is what David Tepper would do. This is what he doesn't own Washington, thank God now, but Dan Snyder. That's the sort of ownership that will run your franchise into the ground. Kraft hasn't done that. He knew that when he got Gerard Mayo in, right, we'll see how he gets on. He fired him within about 90 minutes after our win over Buffalo in the final game of the season. That just shows you I made a mistake. Time to rectify it.
Well, the Gerard Mayo thing, it was written into his contract, wasn't he, that he was going to take over Bill Belichick. That was part of the whole thing. And Vrabel was on my shortlist for coaches that I wouldn't have minded in Seattle. I got a bit of flack for that. But I think
him in Seattle, your toughness, accountability, that will suit him down to the ground. That would suit him down to the ground. But he also suits us down to the ground as well. Right. It's time to do our predictions. I'm waiting on Nick for his prediction.
His predictions come through.
Shit. Okay, we've got a bingo, bongo, bango then.
We've got a triple bingo, bango, bongo. Just to give you a little preview.
I know what the score is now. I know what the score is now. Fuck's sake. Okay. Josh, we'll start with you first. Okay. So, I would say go easy on us, but I know you're not. You said you don't like your score line. So hit me with your best shot.
Oh no, I love our score line. I am going for 31-13 to the Seahawks.
Wow. Okay, that's bold.
That's been consistent as well. I think every podcast I've appeared on, I've said that, and it's purely just the way I see it playing out in my mind. Just with our defense, I genuinely think you might score the first touchdown, but then once Mike McDonald's got his eye in, I think he'll limit that to a couple of field goals.
Yeah, okay. So DJ has sent his prediction, and I'm usually every time he does this, I always think it's reverse psychology, although we completely dunk on him. So he's got Seattle winning 27-21. As I said, Nick, reverse psychology. Remember, every time he picks us to lose, we somehow win. That's how he works. Nick's giving me his prediction. Kieran, what is yours?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of, I think, back the under on the point spread. I think this is going to be an incredibly defensive game. I think, full respect to your defense, like I think you're gonna be able to limit us with what we can do. But I also think we're also a very good defensive team. I think the thing for us is, if we can get after Sam Darnold in the way that we've got after the quarterbacks in the playoffs so far, and we can frazzle him a little bit with disguised coverages, I like to think that we can force a few key moments. So especially with that interior pressure, and if you've got a weak link at guard, then Milton Williams is going to have him on toast. I think it'll be a really close game. I really do. Defensive scrap, really close game, fine margins. Look, I can't go against my own team. Like I said before, I have no issues if you win. Genuinely, I do not. Like, I have no, I have full respect for the Seahawks. You're not a franchise I actively dislike. I've always quite liked the Seahawks. But I think this is going to be under the point spread, defensive scrap, fine margins, 20-17 New England.
Wow, we have gone for the bingo, bongo, bango on 3 scores. Myself, Nick, and Kieran have all gone for the same thing. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because this just reminds me of a carbon copy of Super Bowl 36, where people said the Rams were going to completely blow us out. We were 14-point underdogs going into that game, and we completely flipped the game on its head. And Adam Vinatieri, congratulations to Adam Vinatieri, Hall of Famer. Took him so bloody long, but he's in
Well
there.
deserved that as well.
Well deserved. I think it's going to be the same sort of thing, but Andy Borogalis will use some of that Adam Vinatieri voodoo blood and kick the game-winning 48-yard field goal.
He's even gone for the yardage, bloody hell. I mean, that's if you get that prediction right, then you need to buy a lottery ticket. Yeah, I just genuinely cannot see. I mean, I think we've given up only more than 30 points like all season, like once, and that was to Buffalo. And most of the games we've kept teams to around 20 and under. And you guys are so good defensively too. That's why I don't think we'll see much more. So we've predicted 37 match points. I think the point spread is it 45.5? Like I just smashed the under on that. I really do. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really low scoring game. So yeah.
You're being against 21.
Technically, I've got a score in 20 points. So I mean, fair enough. Like, yeah. I've got a score in 17. So we can both be right with that one.
Congratulations on making us not get the box score. Thank you very much, Brian. Yeah. Much appreciated.
I cannot see it being a blowout of double-digit points. Like you said earlier, Josh, we've not lost by more than 7. In the 3 losses we've had this season, the most has been 7. I'll be flabbergasted if it was more than that. Like, I think it's getting a little bit carried away with
our total points.
Disrespect on our defense a little bit. What's that?
The total points that we've had in our 3 losing games
is what?
9.
9, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I've predicted a 3-point victory. It all falls in that, and
I'm not saying that we're going to lose by a kick in this game, but I just wanted to put that on.
No, and that's what I mean. I think the same could be said for both defenses, right? We've not lost by more than 7. You've got 9 across 3 losses. That's why I think whoever plays the best defense is going to win, and whoever can potentially force turnovers as well, because. Okay, May's had a lot of fumbles in the playoffs. That Houston game in particular will come in there. But Sam Darnold also had 27 turnovers this year, both through the air and on the ground. Like, both quarterbacks are prone to having a little moment like that. So I think if whoever forced the turnover battle could be massive, basically.
Sure.
Can I just ask a question? Are you guys worried about, obviously we've had our issue with Emanwari rolling his ankle, but he's been scanned and he's absolutely fine. He's going through some rehab. He'll play. Are you worried about the news about Drake May's rotator cuff and the fact that his throwing arm that is affected? Is that a worry for you guys? Because that's the news I've heard, and I sort of went, "Oh, that could make it a very heavy run game for you guys."
Yeah, no. I'm not sure because he's practiced in full. So yeah, I don't know. I think, especially around games like this, with it being the Super Bowl, like any form of news whatsoever is just massively overblown because there's just so much like attention on it. Like a player could sneeze in the press conference. Like, oh my God, he's got the flu. Like, he's questionable for the weekend. So, like, yeah, I mean, look, at first it was, you kind of think, okay, well, this is a bit interesting. Like, you don't want any form of lingering injury to happen. But I think the fact that he's practiced in full, he said he feels good. I think that's kind of alleviated any concerns. I think I'd be more concerned about whether Robert Spillane's going to play because that you talked about the run game. He's our linebacker general green dot guy. Like, we need him to play. So yeah, that would be more of an issue for me.
Before we obviously sign off, I want to ask you a couple of questions because obviously we've got a few Seahawks fans that are watching through.
A few Seahawks fans. This is like the Chargers in SoFi Stadium. We're playing the Steelers. We're being fucking infested. For Christ's sake.
We're a well-supported pod.
I'm not, mate. More to you.
From a Seahawks point of view, obviously we've mentioned a lot of players. Now, Milton Williams, we know about. We know about Gonzalez. Like, I'm an Oregon Ducks fan. I know all about Gonzalez, and he was one of the people that I wanted on our draft board as well. Are there any other players that we should watch for? Like you've mentioned that your edge isn't great. You've got Harold Landry, who I've rated. But is there anyone else? Obviously, if Spillane doesn't play, anyone you're hoping has a big game?
I'll give you a couple of underrated ones that potentially like Seahawks fans wouldn't really have paid an awful lot of attention to this year. So I'll give you Corey Durden, who is probably like our fourth string defensive lineman who we picked up off the Giants practice squad and nobody knew a thing about him, and including us. But he's been like a real underrated contributor on our defensive line this year in terms of pressure. In the rotation, like he's not the main guy, but he's someone that when he has to step in, does a job. And the other one is a player that we actually on our show earlier this week when we done our end of season awards, we gave to biggest underrated player of the season, which is Christian Ellis. If Spillane doesn't play, he's potentially the main guy.
Is he the one whose brother plays for the Broncos?
Yeah, and his other brother is Falcons. Like, there's four brothers. Yeah. He, once again, someone who's former UDFA, played in the Super Bowl with the Eagles. We picked him up. He had a pretty solid season last year, and then got a contract extension. This playoff run, he's been sensational, sideline to sideline, playing with his hair on fire every single week. I don't know if you remember when we played the Giants in prime time, he was the one that nearly ejected Jackson's Dart from the stadium down the sideline. He's someone who a lot of other teams probably wouldn't pay much attention to, but he has been excellent. So I would probably say them two would be the real under the radar ones.
I like it. I'll be having a look at them. I'll tell Mitch my podcasting partner in crime to do a bit of a deep dive on them. Like I said, he's the stats and research guy. He's our draft guru. He's the one who's I think the last 3 seasons he's got at least 4, maybe 5 of our draftees right.
Yeah, there's two players that I will just throw in here, and one of them is on our defensive side. Well, they're both on the defensive side of the ball, but one of them is very, very versatile. Kyrus Tonga got let go by Detroit. We ended up picking him up, and not only has he been brilliant for us at nose tackle, he's also played a little bit of fullback as well. So when we play 6 O-line jumbo personnel, and then you have Kyrus Tonga as your fullback, who is this 330-pound monster trying to create a flicking hole, and it might
Was he the two-way athlete? He
was
was.
the two-way
Yeah,
athlete,
he
yeah.
was. Yeah, I remember seeing his pre-draft stuff, and I thought, oh, fair enough.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
something
other-
we've done a little. We haven't touched on it, but that's something that we've done a little bit of recently. Is we play a jumbo formation. We bring in a sixth offensive lineman with Thea Munford, and then Tonga lines up in the backfield, and we just go ultimate jumbo, and just try and run the ball. So I wonder whether that's something we might do again this week.
Was with the barnyard.
Yeah.
And the other one as well is Marcus Jones, our slot corner. What he's done this season has been absolutely unbelievable. He's also had a number of kickoff returns as well, which he's been absolutely phenomenal with regarding us. So that's a two-way battle as well. Special team between Marcus Jones and Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good battle on special teams. So Jeremy Springer is going to need to have his head on a swivel with that one personally.
And I think DJ said Craig Woodson, rookie safety from Cal.
Yeah, Woodson deserves a shout.
He's had a bit of an inconsistent year. Like, as a fourth round rookie, he wasn't really expected to play as much. Going into this season, we had Duggar and Peppers as our starting two. They were both ousted before week one. And Duggar was traded later on, but didn't play throughout the regular season until he was traded. But him and Hawkins have stepped in. And as a fourth round rookie, he's had his moments where he's been beaten a couple of times for touchdowns. He's had his wobbles, but particularly in the later stages of the season and through the playoff run, he's been much improved. Like, the development from the early stages through to now has been really good. I don't want to make out that he's like a future Pro Bowler, because I'm not sure if he is, but he's someone that has got a lot better, and we will need him and Hawkins to play well this weekend, because that's probably been the vulnerability of our secondary, is attacking our safeties, because I think our three corners are excellent, but that's been the vulnerability. But they've stepped up, so maybe that's another one.
Excellent. I'll when I watch this back, and I'll make some notes tomorrow, and then when I'm at a watch party, I'll be like, watch out for these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll also be keeping tabs on obviously your guys as well. Listen, at the end of the day, it's two teams that deserve to get to the Super Bowl. They deserve to be where they are. It's going to be a good match. I mean, a lot of your fans are saying it's going to be more of a blowout or a comfortable win than what we think is a tie. I just think people just have been writing off the Patriots all season long, and it's bitten them on the arse on the return, and they've made excuses about it. What's going to be the excuse if we end up beating Seattle this year? You only beat Sam Darnold. I thought Sam Darnold, had resurrected his career, So it's going to be fun, nonetheless. Josh, thank you so much for coming on, mate. It's been a bundle of laughs. It's been absolutely fantastic. Just let us know where they can find you, and obviously pitch your event you've got coming up in Birmingham on Sunday.
Yeah. All right. So, we're 12 Talk Podcast. You can find us on basically all the same as you. We're on TikTok, Instagram. We've got a Facebook group. You can find us on X, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all those things. You can just search at 12 Talk Pod on social media. Just search 12 Talk Podcast with the UK Seahawkers official podcast. We are holding a Super Bowl watch party at O'Neill's Broad Street in Birmingham on Sunday. So doors open at 9, and it's going to be a collection. We've got 60 odd UK Seahawkers that are making it to this one. There are different ones up and down the country as well. We've got a raffle prize, a raffle giveaway full of Seahawks stash. We've got a official Super Bowl program that'll be there as well. All proceeds go to our the podcast nominated charity, which is the Robin Cancer Trust, which is a germ cell cancer charity that look to raise awareness for testicular and ovarian cancer throughout young people in the UK. So yeah, come and find me, find my co-host Mitch, get a raffle ticket. Let's have a good time, have some beers, some fireball shots, hopefully celebrate a win, and then we can all go home very hungover the next day.
Sounds like a plan. Kieran, as always, thank you for coming on, mate. Much appreciated.
Right.
This is our final preview. This will now be our final preview of the season. But don't worry, we'll have a fair bit to talk about in the off season. We're going to get on out of it, guys. Time for talking is over. The Super Bowl starts in just over 48 hours' time. It's going to be exciting, nerve-wracking, and I can't wait. I think none of us can wait for it. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. Thank you to Ed. Thank you to, and I will say this as well. Thank you to all the Seahawks fans that have been in the chat as well. Well done. You have been very, very mutual. You've been very respectful. So I tip my hat to you. And may the best team win on Sunday. Smash the like button on the way out, guys. Hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Make sure you follow us on social media platforms and follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple as well. We will be back on Tuesday for the review.
Monday.
Sorry, Monday. That was it. I generally thought it was Tuesday in case we lose. I had this talk in the chat. I missed it.
You need that extra day to just compose yourself and sort of straighten yourself out from being in the fetal position in the corner of your room for a while. I get it. Don't worry.
No, can I just say as well, like extra shout out, right? Dedicated to the British and European fans and fans on the other side of the pond, right? Because like, the Americans really have it easy, right? You know, this is like if you're in California, this is at 3:30 p.m. Lovely afternoon game. You know, you can watch it on the West Coast. It'll be done by 6:30, 7 p.m. You can have the evening to celebrate with whatever team or whatever. But we're the ones that have to stay up until the early hours of the morning. And
you're an East Coast. We're a West Coast team.
Yeah,
like, think about most of our kickoffs. Like
it's like a 9:25 kickoff.
It's real dedication. Like we're an East Coast team. And there's a 3 hour. It's 3 hours better off for us. But like, yeah, for anyone, like I'd sometimes think that the Americans take the international fan base for granted because we're the ones that have to make all the sacrifices with the timing. Fair play to everyone, even if you're not a Patriots or a Seahawks fan. Everyone, there's going to be thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people in the UK watching this game that are going to be neutrals. And it's just great, isn't it? Like to see how it's grown. Like the fact that we're at the point of having watch parties and things like that. It's fantastic. So yeah, shout out to everyone who's going to be up until about 3:30 in the morning on Sunday night.
As I said, it's going to be a quality. It's going to be a very, very good match. May the best team win. And yeah, Josh, thank you for coming on, mate. So much appreciated.
Pleasure. Behind enemy lines.
Behind enemy lines, indeed.
I should have worn my Seahawks camo hat for this.
Okay, yeah. We'll play the video as we played it right at the start. But Kieran, how do we say this? We all we got.
We all we need. Go Pats.
Go Pats. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Here we go again. Thought we died from the start. Still waiting on our failure, but we raised the bar. Scraping at the gate where legends get crowned. Bowling our sights, we closing in now. Keep the cake, it ain't a party. Had our sweet 16, chasing the Lombardi. One step closer to dream. Yeah, it's been a while. Still the best in the game. First Brady, now made. Put respect on the name. Helmet low, breath fog. We do this in the cold. Yeah, we beat the Broncos, and you watch it unfold. They see the street, now the tone done changed. But the receipts don't lie. Got you looking insane. Now we pressing the line, bow bound, feel the shift in the air. It's our time to shine. Can't deny this run. You thought it was the end. We don't talk about losses, busy stacking the wins. Every snap, pressure pack, we built for the challenge. Mike started this year and exposed all the talent. When we make it to the big stage, you know it's on sight. Ready, set, hunt, gotta prepare for the hike. From Foxborough, grit near the field at the bowl. Now the door off the hinges, watch us capture the goal. They said the run was done, said the window was closed. Started from the bottom, watch the future unfold. At the gates of the bowl, you thought it was the end. We don't talk about losses, too busy stacking the wins. We all we got, we all we need. Shout it from the stand, same chance, same drive. Yeah, we do it for the fans. Now we pressing the line, roll round, feel the shift in the air. It's our time to shine. You watch us in the AFC and teams today. Time to bring the fire, we got haters to shame. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Kevin!